Hello everyone. Tonight, former Finance Minister said Tekwe calls for debt sustainability program to restructure the country's debt.
Is revenue a solution? Again, we know the past. We said 17.8 and 13.4. For the last 8 years, that was the best we could achieve in 2015. That is total revenue again.
Tax expert calls for computation of 5% levy on banks' profit before tax to be deferred to second quarter of the year. Also ahead, Cocoa Board to take legal action on behalf of cocoa farmers whose activities are being impeded by illegal mining activities. My name is Darryl Kwao. This is Business Live. We'll be back after this break. In our first story tonight, former Finance Minister said Tekwe is calling for debt sustainability program, whether homegrown or external, to restructure the country's debt. The country's debt has hit unsustainable levels at almost 50% of tax revenue is used to settle interest payments. There's more in this report.
Speaking at the maiden PFM Tax Dialogue series, which centered on the fiscal economy, Mr. Tekwe said such program to streamline the country's debt is necessary to avoid default. According to him, the country cannot continue to borrow to repay existing debt as well as finance its recurrent expenditure.
Or, as we couldn't succeed with the PSI, you may be forced into a fund program. And if we do not have a reasonable homegrown, then it means that we are stuck, in a sense with what is with the situation, and we may not be out. So now, is revenue a solution? Again, we know the past. We said 17.8 and 13.4. For the last 8 years, that was the best we could achieve in 2015. That is total revenue against, total tax revenue. Are we anywhere near? Towards the end, 2022, 23, and 24, total revenue, if you express as a percentage of the GDP, is 16.7, 16.8, 16.9, not up to the 17.8, nearly 18%.
The former finance minister also proposed a comprehensive revenue modernization if the country is to mobilize enough revenue to finance its project as well as pay salaries and interest payments. Presently, the nation's tax revenue to gross domestic product is about 13%, a little below the sub-Saharan Africa average of 15%. Mr. Tekwe said tax reforms are critical in generating more revenue instead of the policy of upward tax adjustment.
We can't rely much on grant as a middle-income country. We can't rely much on debt forgiveness. So we have to intensify our own domestic collection, and move the numbers up. These are our main revenue sources: corporate income tax, VAT, excise. These three, together with import duty, are the ones that give us, the most revenue. You can see that the corporate income tax is hovering. It moved up from 2.3, then went up, after the retention of the temporary taxes, the corporate element, and then also the increase in the personal income tax, rate corporates and others, some intensification of collection by GRA. But you can see that the VAT which used to also.
Apologies for that. Now, Cocoa Board would take legal action on behalf of cocoa farmers whose activities are being impeded by illegal mining activities. This comes on the back of a report about illegal miners destroying water sources used for irrigation, putting cocoa farmers at Wenchi in the western north region at risk of losing their farms. Farmers there say the continuous contamination of the Chene River for mining purposes has already had a negative effect on their yields. We'll hear from Cocoa Board in a bit. First, a story by Nana Aljima.
13-year-old Lauren Sheapia makes her way to the borehole to fetch water for house chores. It is the only source of potable water for the Wenchi community. The two other boreholes here have broken down. Other children wait in tents to fill their containers with water. Fetching water in the afternoon is the only way these kids will be able to escape the morning water queue. She says, we queue for about an hour before we are able to get water to prepare for school. Aside this place, there is no potable water. The River Chene, which has served the community for years, is heavily polluted by illegal miners. It looks brownish, unfit for household chores. She says the river was the only alternative source of water for us. Today, it can't be used for anything. The Western North region has an agrarian economy, with cocoa being the major produce. At Chene, a community before Wenchi, farms and water bodies are being destroyed by illegal miners in search of gold. I stand in the middle of about 10 hectares of land degraded by illegal miners. Before now, this whole place used to be cocoa farms, but today the whole area has been taken over by illegal miners, destroying all the cocoa trees here. Farmers at Wenchi have their farms intact, but cannot access water for their crops. They want government intervention to protect their source of income.
We used to drink the river in the farm. Sometimes we cooked with it. But today, we can't use it for anything. We can't carry water from the home to water the farms due to the distance. Farming is becoming too difficult.
She says, our farms are being destroyed. Some of us survive on the farms too. If this is not halted, it will be hard to make ends meet.
We voted for the NPP government to deal with these miners. If they are unable to do it, then he must leave.
Some assembly members in the Bibiani and Nyuaso Bekwai district say the local assembly has not done enough to halt the destruction. Kwame Asamoah is one of them.
So the people are suffering. Sometimes it got to a time they start robbing people over here. But when there was no any Galamsey activities, people can move here from 1 a.m. to the next morning without any attack. So it's affecting our water bodies, our farm. They cannot farm again because their life in danger.
Illegal mining in these cocoa growing areas threatens the country's sustainable cocoa production. The attainment of goals 1 and 6 of the Sustainable Development Goals, bordering on poverty eradication and access to clean water, could be missed. From the Western North region for Joy News, Nana Aljima reporting.
Well, the head of public affairs at Cocoa Board, Fifi Boafo, reacted to this earlier on the marketplace.
It's unfortunate that we keep recording these incidents in our cocoa growing communities. The effect of these activities are very serious, one on our country, the people who are involved in the cocoa farm and the communities, and as well as the cocoa farmers. We believe that these are activities that we should be able to, as a collective, stop it from ongoing, because if it continues, its effects is there. However, let me be quick to add that we've engaged the Ministry for Lands and Natural Resources, the Minerals Commission, for them to help us in dealing with this issue, because this is not something Cocoa Board on its own can unilaterally deal with. However, Cocoa Board at the moment has given out information to farmers that in any situation whereby you have these galamsey operators or the illegal miners coming to your farm, it is important to draw our attention immediately for us to take legal action on your behalf. Because what we realized over the period is the fact that most of the farmers on their own lack the capacity to challenge some of these actions in court, for which reason the people feel emboldened to trample on the rights of these farmers. So going forward, the expectation is that whenever
Now, tax expert Dr. Ali Nachi has advised government to push the implementation of the 5% levy on profit before tax of banks to the second quarter onwards. According to him, the financial sector cleanup levy will have severe implications on the sector, hence his appeal. Speaking at a program organized by the Ghana Integrity Initiative on the implications of the tax policies per the 2021 budget on businesses in the face of COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Nachi appealed to government to consider his appeal of moving the implementation of the levy forward.
According to the government, the 5% levy on profit before tax will be reviewed in 2024. However, in his presentation on implications of the tax policies per the 2021 budget on businesses in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Nachi said government must be considerate on the back of effect of COVID-19 pandemic.
Because we have only 8 months remaining, tax policy advisor, in 2021. We have 8 months. And we are even rolling out these taxes. Next week is May, so we've lost almost a quarter. And that is where I have a challenge with the financial sector recovery levy. Because if you say you are starting at the end of the second quarter, which is end of June, then the third will be end of September, and the fourth is end of December. I wonder if my profit before tax is 100,000, right? And then I find the 5%. So I have 5,000. I am to pay in quarterly installments, but you are saying I will start in the third quarter. Are you dividing that amount over the 3 quarters, or my first quarter is free? It has implications because of COVID. It will be good you relieve me the first quarter and take the 3 quarters. But even that one has not yet been set out. So it's a good point we read now.
Assistant Commissioner and Head of Audit at the Ghana Revenue Authority, Dr. Martin Yabonrija, revealed that the nation is expected to rake in about 2.9 billion Ghana cedis in total revenue by the end of 2021.
We are expecting a net revenue of about 2.9 billion as a result of the new tax initiatives that were announced in the 2021 budget. We have the COVID recovery levy, which I said we are expecting about 1.4 billion, and the ESLA levy we are expecting about 666 million. Then the sanitation levy about 311 million. But at the same time, government is going to give out about 204 million as a result of the waiver of the penalty and interest. And in respect of the tax rebate for those in the hotel industry, entertainment, creative art, about 56 million is also going away. And in terms of the waiver of taxes for VAT, that's those who are into commercial transport, And then those who are in tax stamp, that is also expected to cost the government about 16.8 billion. But in sum, we are expecting a net revenue of about 2.9 billion as a result of the new tax initiatives that were announced in the 2021 budget.
I will still stay in the banking sector because banking consultant Menson Tokunu has attributed increased bad debts recorded by banks to COVID-19. According to the profitability statement of banks operating in the country, banks wrote off a little above 1.1 billion cedis at the end of February this year as bad debt. But speaking earlier on the marketplace, Mr. Tokunu said the situation could have been worse, but for prudent regulatory measures put in place by the Bank of Ghana.
I think the figures are okay. It had not been for the what the Bank of Ghana did last year to clean off the financial sector, it would have been more than this. But all of us know that it's an attributing factor from COVID. That's the reason why it has increased so much.
So what then could be the possible impact on the banking sector?
Well, if you write off debt, your bottom line will actually decrease. But on the positive side, you'll be showing a positive health of the institution. So it is two-edged. Your bottom line will actually reduce when you increase your bad debt, but at the same time, it shows a healthy bank.
Let's now talk about strategies, because if you're looking deeper into the report, you realize that NPLs were also very high. How can banks recoup in this nature?
Well, you would know that, especially the manufacturing and the construction industry has had a very negative impact, because most of these contractors, governments have not been able to pay them. And most of them took money from the bank. And naturally, if you don't receive payment for the work that you have done, it's going to impact on you. And the banks will be forced to write off some of this debt. They are the most impact. The impact was on them more than the manufacturing. So I think there is always a dialogue between the banks and the central bank in order to know what to do. The laws are there, the policies are there, and I think Bank of Ghana is enforcing the policies very, very well so that we can have a healthy economy.
You're watching Business Live. We will be right back.
On today's edition of Money Lab, we are going to continue our series on the factors you need to consider before embarking on your investment journey. In the last episode, we spoke about knowing your investment objective before starting any form of investments. For today, we will be looking at knowing your risk tolerance level. When we talk of risk in investment, we are basically looking at your ability to absorb the shocks in investment as and when it occurs. Are you somebody who takes low risk, moderate risk, or high risk? If you are a low risk taker, then you need to be considering portfolios that are very conservative in nature. If you are a moderate risk taker, there is a moderate portfolio that will perfectly fit you. If you are a high risk taker, then you need to be considering very aggressive portfolios that will help you reach your investment destination. Talk to your investment advisor today before you embark on any investment journey.
a final one before we go tonight. The Accra railway line will soon be reopened to traders and passengers on that route to ease the traffic congestion on our roads. Renovation works along the route caused by erosion and deteriorating lines have been completed. According to Minister for Railways Development, John Peter Mewu, the route was closed after the COVID-19 restrictions were announced last year. But government intends to open it up soon and also link it to the Western Rail Line. He spoke to my colleague, Eben Sabute.
Section of them currently is under construction. A section is under contract, but there is a section that there's nothing happening at all, which is about 200 kilometers. That is what we have to look at, because as you rightly put it, the Yinam, the Awaso, Bauxite, and all those areas, we need a rail line through those areas to be able to, carry our minerals deposit. So, of course, it's a paramount interest to government to complete the Western Line, and we're pretty sure that a lot of improvement will be done on that line.
Yeah. It's tough for some time now.
Well, Accra and Soham is part of the Eastern Railway line. Of course, the COVID, some renovation work was done on that line, but because of the COVID, we don't see the passenger tracks working now. We expected to open it up very soon, where you see some passenger activities. But that Eastern Railway line, of course, is also going to be done, to link the Western line, and then maybe continue to Kumasi. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right, and that's Business Live tonight. There's more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for watching. We are back same time tomorrow.